How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout. I am your host, Hayes Crypto. Ni hao. For today, I would like to be talking about our Shelley incentivized testnet, and of course, what we can expect to see. Participants having the opportunity to earn real ADA rewards. Of course, the staking calculator, and a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, I want to talk about. It's been quite a while since I was actually able to make a video. I've been traveling, visited a couple of you out there across the world. I visited China. Of course, many of you, are familiar with my travels. You keep up with me on different social media. But of course, in this video, I think that it'll be interesting to just talk about what we're seeing in terms of the recent activity with Bitcoin, and we're starting to see patterns that the sellers are exhausted. I mean, Bitcoin. I've been paying very close attention to it, although I haven't had time to actually record content. But now I'm actually going to be making daily content again, so you look forward to that. And also in this video, I'd like to just comment on some of the different changes we've seen to the YouTube platform itself, and a lot of the different signs that we've been seeing in the shifting changes of the internet in general. But of course, the subject of this video is ultimately going to be Cardano, and of course, the ticking clock that we're witnessing happening on a larger scale with cryptocurrency as itself, and what activity we've been seeing towards the end of 2019. This year has really come to a swift end. It's amazing how quickly 2019 actually came and went, and it'll be very interesting to see what 2020 brings us. I expect, of course, as you all know, to see. I've adopted more of a fatalist approach to how I look at Bitcoin, and I imagine that in the beginning of 2020, we're going to see the price continue to move downward. I know this seller exhaustion that people have been talking about. It is an interesting variable to talk about, but at the same time, it is one of those things that I think is going to take quite a while for it to fully culminate and come to the surface. I mean, of course, we know those who do TA are often the ones who are identifying the patterns. And you know how I feel about TA. I mean, I think that in some circumstances, plenty of these YouTubers out there who are doing technical analysis, I think that you'd be just as likely to throw art, against a dartboard, and wherever that lands, use that data as your technical analysis, and you might pretty much come up with a similar result as you would, with some of the shit that a lot of these different YouTubers are passing off as TA these days. But of course, that's just my perspective. I mean, there are some good YouTubers out there who are doing TA, and I'm not going to fault them themselves, and you know who you are. I'm not going to name names because that's not my style. But of course, I think that it will be interesting to see how something like Cardano, and the decentralization of a lot of these different aspects of society are pretty much going to be culminating in a really interesting way. Of course, it's interesting to see. I wanted to also talk about Charles Hoskinson. Of course, it's always interesting to look at these individuals, and that's one of the main pieces of advice that I always am willing to give. Really, the only piece of advice is do your research. Of course, remember, this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. Of course, this video is not any kind of technical. This is not advice by any means. You guys got to do your own research, come up with your own sort of perspective on these things, and all I can do is share with you my exactly what this is. But this tweet right here I found pretty interesting as well. I'm actually going to retweet it. It's my Cardano Shelley testnet beta staking pool did run for 26 straight days with no downtime, producing almost 1,500 blocks for the network. Now it's time for the almost real thing. I think that plenty of us are who've been following along closely with a lot of these different developments have basically been up front and center with a lot of these different things as they've been developing, are probably in a similar boat with the way that their graphs and so forth are looking. But it's interesting to see what's happening. This is very interesting what's happening in Asian countries. Especially fresh off of the recent laws that we saw passed in China, and it is prevalent. I would say that these powers, the global powers, are certainly aware of what we would term going to be the cryptocurrency arms race. And so this article, as the cryptocurrencies are increasingly getting more and more popular, the world starts to take, differing positions in regard to the legality and mass adoption. Some countries have outright banned the new digital currencies in their parent system blockchain, while others have taken a more liberal approach, letting the market do its job. And the latter has, so I mean, I think that introduction is pretty much a good, way for. I mean, if you guys want, you can go check out that article as well. But I think that it is interesting to see how, I think that a lot of the different countries that are unable to, position themselves in a way where they'll be able to capitalize on this upcoming paradigm shift, they'll be swiftly left behind. I mean, I think that a lot of these different countries, in power systems, are aware that casting aside Bitcoin at this stage will basically put them behind in so many different. I mean, as far as the new paradigm is concerned, it's going to be very interesting to see. And which is another reason why I make these videos and I can confidently title them, about a Cardano Bullrun, just because of the way that Cardano has been positioning itself to be a key leader in what we're going to be seeing happening in the near future, as far as this overall the totality of the paradigm shift and all these different things. So of course, short term, aside, of course, just looking at like a $7,000 Bitcoin and all these different things, it doesn't distract me. Cryptocurrency is a game of accumulation, and it's of course interesting to see how people, get distracted by the day to day. And I guess if you haven't been involved with the space long enough, then I'm sure that there's, it's a bag, because the cryptocurrency community is a mixture of people who know absolutely nothing, who are here more or less to gamble, and people who are some of the smartest, most aware people in the world, who are paying attention to these things and watching as we just witness from sort of behind the curtain, a lot of these different variables really coming into the way, and of course aligning in a way that we'll be seeing some very interesting things happening. So this is a very interesting and exciting video for me to make, just in putting it out there for the Cardano community and the larger cryptocurrency community in general. And I'm very excited to be coming back to the YouTube community. We'll be making some very interesting content, and just overall talking about how we've been seeing ADA basically making a lot of the different movements forward that we were expecting. I mean, some of this is ahead of schedule. Some of this is, of course, not exactly ahead of schedule, but in the same context, it's right on schedule, just because that Cardano has sort of established itself as among the only players, the only game in town. When we want to talk about academic credentials, we want to talk about the different ways that, these are things that I plan to continue to build on in the future. And it's interesting to see at this time, with Bitcoin dominance at 66.6%. And many of you were citing during the live stream the multiple parallels we've been seeing happening between this time last year and, of course, what we're currently witnessing happening. As cryptocurrency continues to basically make a lot of the different, it hit a lot of the different stumbling blocks that it hit last year. But it is amazing how quickly we have come. So overall, this that one is pretty interesting. I mean, 2011 Bitcoin impossible, 2012 Bitcoin impossible, 2021, $1 million Bitcoin impossible, $100,000 Bitcoin impossible, 2018, $10,000. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, we will definitely see what the residual effects of a lot of these different things coming together are ultimately going to be. But I think that it will be interesting to see how a lot of these different overlaps that we've been seeing happening in the space, continue to make themselves known. I mean, and of course, in the larger sense, how the mass, the public, and all these different things, will be. But and of course, this is also interesting. This article right here that I wanted to talk about. If I could, one of Africa's fastest growing economies to fund blockchain development. I mean, this is right in keeping with what we see happening, with Cardano and the way that they've been able to position themselves, with the developing countries and so forth. So Rwanda launches the emerging tech policy and strategy. This is the future right here, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's basically a reset, for any, So I mean, if you're out there, I mean, I know that there's an international audience for this type of content. So I mean, that now's time. I mean, you have to advocate for these things. You will benefit in the future. Just the same way that the internet was a complete game changer. We're going to be seeing likewise very similar things happening across the board. But that's all for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this content. I'll see you guys next video. Have a good one.